Good day, everyone. I am Emiliano Garcia Tabubuca Jr., your presenter today. Our topic for today is all about the cognitive developments of infants in toddlers by Jean Piaget's theory. At the end of the lesson, you are anticipated to discuss the substages of Piaget's sensory-motor stage and elaborate the language acquisitions device, or LAD. Sensory-motor stage of development. A stage lasting from 0 to 2 age, in which the word experience through senses and actions, marked on by a focus on the here and now, with no doubt beyond immediate physical experience. Example, no normal representations. Children in this stage lack object permanence. When a baby is born, he or she starts developing both physical and cognitively. Physical skills include crawling, grasping, and pulling, as well as general physical growth. However, as babies develop cognitive skills, they start thinking about their behaviors and reacting to different stimuli such as noises, movement, and emotions. And this is what defines the sensory motor. The sensory motor stage is divided into 6 substages. This stage takes a human from a newborn to a toddlers. Infants and toddlers think with their sensory and motor system, and this will look at their development. The 6 substages of sensory motor stage. Stage 1 is the reflex acts. Stage 2, the primary circular stage. Stage 3, secondary circular stage. Stage 4, the coordinating secondary schemes. Stage 5, the tertiary circular stage. And the last is the stage 6, the symbolic thoughts. Now, let's proceed to substage 1 or the reflex acts. This stage goes from birth to 1 month old. At this stage, they are often referred to as neonates or newborns. Newborns in this stage have reflexive movements. In this stage, reflexive movements includes the sucking, the grasping, and even orienting. These movements are inflexible. There is no accommodational at this stage. Therefore, the movements are random. Substage 2, or the primary circular reactions. This stage covers 1 to 4 months old. At this stage, original reflexes become sensory motor schemes. These schemes become more refined at this stage. Also, in this stage, accommodation begins to occur, which in turn leads to a greater range of actions that the baby can perform. The schemes help the infants understand the world that they live in. In the previous stage, actions were independent and random, but now, the schemes have become coordinated. For example, a child could hear a noise and orient towards it, or they see an object and then touch it. During this stage, infants develop primary circular reactions. Some of these actions include an infant sucking their thumb, making habitual utterances, or being in a jumper where they flex their legs. Also at this stage, infants are explanatory and develop new schemes. The substage 3. This stage covers the baby from 4 to 8 months old. At this stage, babies develop secondary circular reactions, and these reactions include repetition and the development of dropping and throwing schemes. Also, babies are learning that their reactions have reactions as in hitting a hanging toy or mobile and seeing that it moves one hit and make that their mom smile. It is also important to note that at this stage, the actions are not intentional. Also, infants are learning that they are separate from the rest of the world. Stage 4 are the coordinating secondary schemes. This stage covers the 8 to 12 months old. The baby's behaviors become intentional and good-oriented. They also coordinating schemes at this stage. This means that the independent schemes has now been combined to achieve a goal. Also at this stage, babies develop object permanence, which is the belief that an object exists even though they cannot see it. This is indicated through active searching for hidden objects. At this stage, infants have still not fully grasped their concept. They A, not B, error. Is infants a look for an object in this original hiding spot instead of looking for in a most recent place that it was hidden AB. The substage 5 or the tertiary circular reaction. It covers 12 to 18 months old. At this stage, babies develop tertiary circular reactions, which means they are repeating actions and behaviors but with more variations. At this stage, the experimenting with the world, they are searching everywhere, which means that at this stage, they solve the A, not B, error. Also, they are imitating which means that they have a larger repertoire of actions. Tertiary circular reactions are more flexible. They also have pleasing results. These results lead a child to want to repeat the actions so that they can receive a similar result. Let's go now to substage 6 or the symbolic thoughts. Substage 6 covers 18 to 24 months. At this stage, toddlers are able to hold mental representations in their mind. They are able to solve advanced object permanence problems, such as invisible displacements, and they are able to join in make-believe play. Make-believe play is also known as symbolic play, which is when a child uses one thing to stand for something else. An example of this is when they use a teacup and pretend to be at the fancy tea party where they are actually drinking tea. Another thing that the face during substage 6 is deferred imitation, which is the imitation of model observed sometimes in the past. This would be like a child seeing one thing at the beginning of the week and being able to imitate it at the end of the week. To conclude, the sensory motor stage takes someone from being a newborn to being a toddler. They begin with random movements which develop into coordinate schemes. The sixth substage gives a detailed look at development within the first 2 years of life. Learning and remembering. All of us experience infantile amnesia, the inability to recall events that happened when we were young. We can remember little or nothing that has happened to us before the age of about 5 years. This is the time when we remember very little of the events in our lives. Stages in language development. The stages in language development has schooling, which comprises vowel sound, babbling, which comprises consonants as well as vowel sounds, one-word utterances, which are limited in both vowels and in consonants to utilize, the hollow phrases, to convey intentions, desires, and demands, usually are nouns describing familiar objects, something like mama and papa. The two words utterances and the telegraphic word or the telegraphic speech. The basic adult sentence structures with continuous vocabulary accusations. It starts at 4 years. Overextension error or the overextends the meaning of the word in his or her existing lexicon to cover things and ideas for which a new word is lacking. The telegraphic speech. 2 words are 3 words, utterances with rudimentary syntax but with articles and prepositions missing. The language acquisition device or the LAD. The language acquisition device. It is a metaphoric organ that is responsible for language learning. It is pre-programmed to learn language, whatever the language community children find themselves in. This means that we, humans, are biologically pre-configured to be ready to acquire language. The mechanism behind language acquisitions, the idea that language is a complex cognitive system basically mapping sound or speech being assigned language. Science, and if I do, the mechanism behind the process is something which is happily called language acquisition device, or the LAD for short. And the idea is very simple. There is information for the environment, and then the process of language acquisition information process, which is an unconscious process occurs with the mind of a child and only uses it for learning for language acquisition, and out of comes successful language acquisition. It conforms to what was once called a linguistic nativist. The language acquisition device contains some domains, specific knowledge about the language. The device contains language acquisition, the special resource of language about the structure of language, and it is often called general grammar. The system attaches effort to the universal description of children's prior natural linguistic knowledge and how that knowledge interacts with data from your native language to collective generate knowledge. A completion of the systematic or the system list for the native language you are trying to learn. And so again means the specific is not specific about the human language. So the human language acquisition device that say it is a knowledge that you only use for language acquisition. Now, again, the idea is it can combine with information from that environment. Little knowledge of how human languages work, and the little knowledge is enough to begin the child. To allow the use of his or her language input is easier to consider. Only the consolation of certain hypotheses about language because of the type of guidance. It's not enough to get the language rules right, the right language system to get the right grammar. That's why you need a bit of an introduction to this mailing technology on language acquisitions device. Children need more than just input data to help them decide what the proper purpose of language is. Thank you for joining me until the end of this video, and hopefully it will help you to know the substages of Piaget's sensory motor stage and to elaborate language acquisition device. Again, thank you and have a nice day ahead.